on your game now to get you from 996, you said, to like say 1020? Like what does Connor need to get there?
I think the biggest things for me are just like making sure that I put in that little bit of work every day, because that just gives me the mental reassurance when I'm on the course, knowing that I spent the time during the week trying to work on my game. And then I think for me, I'm really comfortable when I can throw full shots into the green or full shots off the tee. So I need to work on being able to power down, and I've been working on my standstill approach game for that a lot. And I also think my standstill flick has helped with being able to approach those situations. But yeah, I think my powered down touch game is something just as a newer player, it takes a while to kind of develop that touch, because it's just, I never really threw frisbees until 4 years ago, or just about 4 years ago. I was kind of always a ball guy, so it's a whole different concept, and it takes a while to really develop that natural touch. But I think it's definitely coming for me, and I think just continuing to just be more consistent, that's the biggest thing for obviously any golfer, but finding the ways to mentally like get yourself in the right place when you're on the green, whether it's maybe a little mantra you have to repeat to yourself, or maybe I know like Mason, when he's on the green, he'll have a number count off, so he'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's just his way of keeping his mind on track. I think if you don't have something like that, it's easy for you to wander, think about, oh, work was bad earlier, or this is what I'm eating later, or so, there's a lot of places your mind can go if you don't give it a constructive place to be. So I think finding stuff like that and just learning how my brain works will just continue to help me be a little more consistent, because I feel like when I play in my game, I feel like I can play with just about anybody.
That's awesome. So what are your goals now as far as a disc golfer, like in the next year to 5 years? Do you want to be a top-tier pro, or are you doing this just to kind of be on the circuit and compete with the guys?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to be a top-tier guy. That's kind of always been my goal, just to try to get a little better every day. And I think throughout that process, I think if you limit your goals and where you think you can get, then it's going to be hard for you to surpass them. So I think you should always kind of dream at the top and then work towards it. And if you come up a little short, then maybe you still end up having a really good time and getting out there. But yeah, I'm trying to next year make it my first official year on tour. So I'm hoping maybe to get my vehicle situation shored up here in the fall, maybe get myself a van and then start working on that. But yeah, I've been kind of gearing up, getting ready. The whole COVID situation kind of hurt to miss that Texas swing, and I was thinking of it as kind of my interview with the Pro Tour, but I'm still going to go out to Jonesboro, and I think that's a good course for me to go get a feel for just those big level tournaments and those big nerves,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's you got to start playing the A tiers and the and the world. What do they call world?
The Pro Tours.
Pro Tours. All of those. Get on that, and then it's move to the top.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're playing Dogwood. When is that one? Is that?
Well, so that one's actually the same weekend as Jonesboro right now. I'm hoping that maybe gets moved, because I know there's a lot of stuff happening that weekend, and I know a lot of the field is going to be at Jonesboro, and that was supposed to be a 8-tier national tour, so I think they might still be running it the same weekend, which would be really unfortunate, but I'm hoping I can make both of those.
Right. Dogwood's awesome. I love Lindsay Park.
Absolutely, yeah. Playing Dogwood for the first time in a tournament is a different experience. I mean, you're in there and it's going to be a long round, and you got to throw it real straight. And being a Texas boy throwing hyzers over the top, it was like, oh man, this is something different for sure.
The trees are tall there.
Oh yeah, there's no escape from the top of the trees. You just got to throw it straight through them, and you better have some good slow flippy fast plastic.
So what would you throw on that course?
I feel like throwing in those tight woods, a lot of times it's really helpful to have a sidearm, I think, because you can kind of face up your gap. You can throw and commit to the gap a little easier versus the backhand. There's a lot of things you got to line up, a lot of things that have to happen right to hit it in the woods. But if you are throwing those backhands, slower, glidey, flippy putters or mid-rangers that you can kind of maneuver slightly to the left the whole way or slightly to the right, those slow drifting discs are really good in the woods. So stuff that you can kind of keep on tight lines but still be able to move left and right a little bit.
So what would you throw when you're there?
Well, with my new bag, I'd probably be throwing a lot of my compasses, my straight mid-range. I'd probably be throwing my shields a good amount. I'd definitely be throwing my sidearms with my recoils, and probably my Pioneer, which is just the overstable fairway. That's kind of a staple in the bag. So yeah, I definitely will probably find myself leaning on the sidearm pretty heavily in the woods just to hit the gaps and make sure I get down there and give myself a look.
And doing the sidearm, is it on those courses, is it if you do hit a tree, is it better to be on the opposite? You know, is that why you do the sidearm?
I just do it mainly because when I can look at the gap the whole run up, I think it's easier for me to commit to it and hit it versus in the backhand you're gonna have that moment where you have to look away and just trust your mechanics and your form to hit the gap. So I think, as I continue to work on the backhand and trust it more, I think it'll continue to be something I'll use more in the woods. But I think that when you get in the woods and you really have to just hit a line, you kind of just fall back on what's comfortable at that time. And I know last time I played there, the sidearm was definitely the comfortable thing for me. So.
Did you start sidearm when you first started playing?
No, I started backhand and then kind of realized that I almost thought of it like basketball. I was like, as a basketball player, if you only score with your right hand, you're going to be limiting the places you can score from. So I was like, as a disc golfer, you got to think of it. You have to be able to spin the disc clockwise and counterclockwise to be able to score in the most situations. As well as I just started to recognize that being able to throw shots that are on a hyzer and never really move off to the anhyzer side, or shots that are hyzer and finish hyzer, seem to be the most consistent in the game. So if you can throw sidearm and backhand, it seems like it's an advantageous way to score and keep your score consistent. So that's really what made me just force myself to learn the sidearm over time.
Yeah, and the courses are usually a right backhand, then left. It's just it has all the left or backhand and flick shots.
Yeah, like Circle C is the course I learned on at first. So definitely there was, like when I was only throwing backhand, I'd set up the hole 2 and I didn't know what I would do. So I'd go to Destination Sean and be like, all right, what can I throw that will turn this way on the backhand? But over time I realized, like, okay, being able to throw that short little flick is more advantageous there. So.
And so what do you throw on that?
If I'm playing the long tee on hole 2 Circle C, I'm going to be throwing probably my Justice to play for a 2, or if I'm looking to skip one up there, maybe get an ace, then I'd bump up to my Pioneer, which is the fairway driver, just to get a little more skip off the ground. But yeah, something pretty overstable I can just hit flat with maybe a touch of hyzer and just let the disc work.
Let it do it itself. So I know that you bag a felon. What does a felon do for you? What shots do you throw a felon on?
Well, I've got a pretty beat up felon, so for me it's my super straight sidearm disc. So if I want to throw a sidearm shot, probably ranging from like 275 to 330 feet or so, and I just want to throw a really straight line, I'm going to throw the felon. Speaking of Circle C, I know like hole 9, that little uphill hole, it's a short hole for the felon, but I like facing it up with the flick and just running it with something like that. So it's a disc it's overstable still at its heart, but it's beat up enough to where I can maneuver it straight, and it really wants to hold that line. Yeah.
And me, I have to throw something understable on that hole to get it to go all the way up to the top.
And for me, the felon I'm bagging is pretty much understable, but it's in the recycled plastic, and it's a little worked in. So.
And you throw the Explorer as well, right?
Yeah, I like the Explorer a lot. It's just a good fairway driver when the mid range isn't quite going to get somewhere, but the distance driver is going to skip off to the side a little bit too much. The Explorer, you can hammer on it. It's going to be trustworthy as long as there's not a stiff headwind. And even then, if you put the right angle on it, it can probably handle that as well. But yeah, it's just a good jack of all trades fairway driver. I'm bagging 2 right now.
And the Gateway, I know you said that.
The Getaway is actually a good complement to the Explorer. So I don't throw the Getaway very much at all, honestly. But anytime I want to throw my Explorer and there's a headwind coming at me, I'm going to go with the Getaway just because it's a little faster and it'll handle a little bit of. If I mess up and throw it a little too hard and flat, it'll handle that a little better than the Explorer being a little slower will. So
it feels like a T-bird, but maybe more
it's pretty spot on.
More glidey T-bird.
It's a T-bird pretty much in terms of
this one feels really good.
Yeah.
And do you throw a trespass?
I don't throw a trespass. I know a lot of people that like it. For me, I probably could, and I probably would like a fresh trespass for like a sidearm disc because it's probably going to be a little longer than some of the overstable stuff that I like to throw, but. Yeah, I wanted to bag as much latitude as I could, and between the recoil and the Ballista Pro, I kind of had all the shots I needed covered, so I kind of left the trespass out of the bag. But I do know I was throwing some of the Black Zombie stuff the other day, and it compares very close to the Flamethrower. It's a good controllable distance driver that's you can maneuver really straight and long, and it'll have a mild finish at the end of it.
Put a little bit of ante on it, it'll take the whole flight. That's what I like about both the T-Bird. I mean, not the Trespass and the Flamethrower.
I know a lot of people throw the trespass and
I throw
flamethrower, obviously.
I throw both as well.
Yeah.
And I just put a little bit of anti on it when I throw it out there, and it does the good full flight, like a hole 8 Cat Hollow. I park it with the
Nice.
Trespass. Just
Yeah.
throw it with a little anti, miss the trees on the right, and it just fades to the left a little bit, goes down there, and skips up the basket.
I play a lot with Andrew Lowry, and he throws a lot of trespasses when he wants that straight distance shot. So
Don't you think one of the biggest mistakes that AM players make is they disc up too high when they're playing? Doesn't that seem like a trend? Like they'll see you or a top pro playing, they'll throw like a destroyer. It seems like the probably most overthrown disc that a lot of people who throw destroyer, I don't think really should be throwing destroyer, and they probably get more out of other discs. That's just an example of
yeah,
like,
I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are going to say that it doesn't really matter what you throw as long as you get it to the right spot. But I do think that the slower disc that you can throw into a given situation, it's going to keep your line tighter and it's going to finish on the ground softer. So if you can throw a trespass somewhere, but you can also throw, say, your fairway driver somewhere, the fairway driver, it's going to have a tendency to finish a little milder and just be more accurate at the end of the flight. And I think that's where it's advantageous to be able to throw slower discs into certain spots. You really just control the late flight of a disc, which I think is one of the most important parts to scoring in the game, because that extra 10, 15 feet of skip off to the edge might give you a bad putt where you're not in your comfortable putting stance. So I think those little stuff like that really make a difference. And I do think that a lot of players get caught up thinking, oh, but if I throw this fast disc right, then it might do what I want. But understanding that maybe taking 15 or 20 feet of distance less or 30 feet of distance less to make sure you're in a good position can definitely help you score on the course.
Yeah.
especially like Maynard. Maynard is probably that perfect course to kind of line that up.
Yeah, and like hole 8 Maynard is a great example of that. Like I always want to rip on my Ballista Pro or throw something fast there. But the other day when y'all were filming that match play, I reached for my beat up Explorer, which is my 7-speed disc on a really long shot where you want to throw as far as you can pretty much. But I just knew it was going to hold that line straight and it was going to finish gently and it wasn't going to want to tail off or have to use a lot of the fairway. It could kind of just stay on that tight line. So
And you took a 3 on that hole.
yeah, that was a really good 3, and that
was
almost
awesome.
almost chunked it in for the 2, which would have been crazy. But yeah, that was.
We had that on camera on the, I guess it was the first, part 1 on the match play
Yep.
between you and Andrew.
Yeah, that was that beat up recoil that was doing
awesome.
work all day. Yeah, out of a standstill shot. So I was surprised to get a good power generation on that one.
So your second shot was a recoil and almost sank it.
He was just
Yeah.
past the bridge, maybe like 60, 70 feet past the bridge. A little sidearm from the left side.
Oh, I
side
saw
of the
you
fairway.
were behind the
Yeah,
basket.
Yeah, it skipped up. It skipped up one.
Yeah, exactly. That was his third shot.
Yeah,
That
it
was the
flashed,
second
it
shot.
flashed a couple feet past the right side there. Yeah,
That was your second shot behind the
it was
The
basket.
putt itself was third shot, but yeah,
that was
the
that
second
was
shot there.
I usually go to
Blows me
Maynard and
away.
try to bite off too much off the tee with those fast discs, but that day I made sure to just play more of a tournament style and throw my slower stuff, and I think it really paid off for me, and that kept me in the fairway for
Yeah,
sure.
that was some good experience. We had cameras on you, it was match play.
Yeah, it was good, and I started off really bad. I shanked it off of hole 1, and then took a lazy second shot, and then ended up being in a really bad position. But it was kind of good because I had to work on that
Yeah.
bounce back and had to kind of collect myself.
See, we're all working together and trying to do the BZTV thing, trying to get off the ground. He's trying to get himself to be a big disc golfer out there. So didn't you have some giveaways that were...
Yeah, so I brought 2 discs to give away. One's the Dynamic Disc Raider. It's a new distance driver, very popular. Good long disc. It's got some finish at the end of it. And then I also brought one of my Tour fundraiser discs. It's a Compass, so good straight mid-range, reliable disc.
Is that signed or is that part of the stamp on there?
Yeah, actually, I signed at the top. It's also got the part of the stamp that's signed down there.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
And do you have your like a players page on Facebook?
I don't have a players page. You can find me on Facebook at just Connor O'Reilly. I haven't made like an athletes page yet or a players page yet. But I mean, yeah, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'm also on YouTube. But I've always got these discs on me, and you can always message me if you want to reach out to support and help me get out on tour next year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
And I also brought a truth to give away to Gary for being gracious enough to letting us drop in here to the drop zone and going to give this away for
Wherever
him
Gary
to,
is. Gary
him to
owns the
sell in
drop
his
zone.
coffers.
Yeah, if you need discs, baskets, bags, even he does lock and key stuff too here. But need that stuff, definitely look up the Drop Zone.
Drop Zone Deals on Facebook. That's 620 and 183 in the Lowe's parking lot. Yeah, next to Leslie's Pools. Yeah, stop in. He's got a little bit of everything. He's got his own chainsaw with the Drop Zone on it. Check that out. Beautiful, huh?
Very good. Those feel awesome.
They are. I call them super soft and sexy.